Hello there, my name is Kira Anderson. I am a chronic migraine sufferer with a restored life. And I am dedicating today's story to all the people who prayed for me when I had given up hope, because I can tell today's story in the past tense because you kept praying. So to each one of you, you know who you are. This is dedicated to you. Why am I even going back? I mean, we don't live in the past. Why rehash the past? If you have chronic illness and somebody tells you that their friend is something natural for their chronic illness, the very first question that pops into their mind is, well, how sick are they? Because with chronic illness, there's this huge range of mildly uncomfortable to declared disabled by your doctor, homebound, cannot function, and everything in between. And something natural might work for that person who is mildly uncomfortable, but you're thinking it's probably not going to work for me. You don't even know the story. You don't even know what the remedy is. You just want to know, how sick are they? Is there any prayer of a chance it could work for them? That said, I know that there are a lot of people who follow me who are sicker than me. And that is not an insult, and they don't take it as an insult, because it is a validation of the fact that their pain is real and the challenges they face every day are very real. And so to you, my heart goes out to you. My prayers are with you. I'll say a couple of quick hellos here. Hi, Mom. Have to get that one out there. And to my dear sister Corey and a good friend and Annette. Excuse me, I haven't seen you in a while. Hello there. So let's dive in. I was so sick that I have been having migraine attacks for 23 years. I had more than 10 triggers, so if it wasn't one thing, it was another thing. I was so sick that my attacks, which started in my teens, only lasting a few hours, would get worse in my 20s and start to last a day or so, and then go completely out of control in my 30s with my worst attack, despite copious amounts of medications, lasting 3 months straight with no break. I was so sick that I was proud of this technique that I used in my 20s, where I take 2 ice cubes, put them in a Ziploc baggie, wrap a light washcloth over it, and then I would go to bed with an ice cube set over each eye socket to just numb the pain in my face so that I could sleep. Now, I dare you try that. I have since done that now that I am healthy, and it is excruciatingly painful. But that tells you how much pain I was in. I was so sick, I would wear sunglasses in the office and during church. And I really couldn't go outside on a sunny day because that was pretty much a guarantee that I was going to get a migraine attack. I was so sick that I had to ration my meds and tough out as much pain as I could possibly bear, because migraine meds are very, very hard on your liver. Your doctor only prescribes you so many a month, and you have to make them last as long as possible. I was so sick that I get to the point where all of those meds would only dull the pain, and the other symptoms that I had, they would never completely relieve them. Hey Susan, hey Stephanie, thanks for watching me tonight. I was so sick that the migraine disease had so taken over my health by my 30s that even if I wasn't experiencing pain or the usual migraine symptoms of like light sensitivity, sound, nausea, my cognitive functioning, ability to think clearly, my cognitive functioning, short-term and long-term memory were extremely poor, and just completing a thought could be very hard, even on a day with no pain. I was so sick, I would lose the ability to connect with my husband and my daughter on an emotional level. That part of my brain just could not function. And that just makes me sick to think about. I was so sick that I basically cannot remember the years 2014 to 2015. I have no memory of them. Don't remember Christmas. Don't remember anything. I was so sick that one of the specialists got to the point where she said to me, I don't know how to help you anymore. Don't call me back. I was so sick that getting behind the wheel was literally terrifying to me. And this wasn't because the medications were like dulling my senses or, had the warnings, don't operate heavy machinery. This was because I knew that my own brain function was so hampered by the disease that I was really afraid I was going to hurt someone. Finally, I begged my husband to take the keys away from me. I had blacked out on a dangerous on-ramp and took out the right side mirror. And at that point, we both realized that we were lucky it wasn't any worse than that. And I didn't drive for a long time after that. At that point, I was 38 years old. I was so sick, I went into my boss's office and I asked him to fire me. My husband couldn't bring himself to let me quit because the health insurance came from that job, but I simply couldn't do it anymore. That was my last day in a traditional work environment. I have never gone back. Speaking of health insurance, we hit the max out of pocket every single year, accumulating $72,000 worth of medical debt in 8 years. This was our cost, not the insurance companies. I was so sick, I would pay $300 for six-hour doses of an injectable medication just trying to avoid going to the emergency room. I was so sick, my doctor suggested a med that was $800 for one 12-hour dose. I never did fill that med. We didn't have the money. I was so sick that my last employer, when writing a letter on my behalf to the Social Security Administration to request for disability, would report that my performance was 30% of what the job required. When I left that job, he would find many undone projects that I had never intended or had any idea that I was neglecting. I am a type A firstborn overachiever. And yet that's what I had been reduced to by this awful disease. And I do believe that migraine is a disease that you live with. Attacks are what happened to you. Just like epilepsy is a disease that you live with, seizures are what happened to you. Same thing. I was so sick that I would go to the ER for help when the pharmaceuticals were not working good enough. I hated those trips because the ER here where I live would give me medications that would make me hallucinate. And I eventually got to the point where I decided I would rather stay home and tough out the pain than go through the hallucinating. And so I simply stopped going. I was so sick that my brother, then in his 20s, and me in my then 30s, would go to my mom and ask her, is Kira dying? I was so sick, my dad would lay awake at night praying for me, knowing that if the illness didn't kill me, that like with a brain aneurysm, that the side effects of all the meds I was taking would kill me. I was so sick. I would sleep for hours every day and then all night, even when I wasn't in an attack. And I come from a family of workaholics. This was totally complete torture to me. I was so sick I had to sit down on my booty to go down the steps. to feed the dog because I was so unstable on my feet. I was so sick I couldn't grocery shop. Most nights I couldn't make supper. There were many days my husband brought my cereal to bed because I couldn't even get up to do that. I was so sick, I would be hospitalized once a year for 3 years in a row. I was so sick that a long, severe attack that began in October and continued to December would make me so miserable that mid-December I would beg to go into the hospital. It didn't matter that it was almost Christmas. I had no quality of life. It didn't matter. I was just like, take me there. I remember one of the doctors coming in, and my sister just said she's crying over here, and now she's making me cry. I remember the doctor coming in by me and saying, "So I suppose you want me to help you get out of here by Christmas?" And I said, "No. I do not want to leave here until I feel better." I had a 4-year-old little girl an hour and a half away at home waiting for me, but I was so miserable. I was like, please don't make me leave this hospital until you can help me. I am so sick. I would get home like 2-3 days before Christmas, that particular time, but that's how sick I was. I would leave the hospital after each of these special inpatient visits in pain, less pain, but still in pain, and this was after 5 days of super strong drugs being pumped directly into my into my veins. It would take me 4 weeks to recover from one of those visits because the medications would just wreak a whole nother set of side effects on me. And then the migraine attacks would slowly ramp up, get closer together, more severe, faster, harder. The medications would work less, and I'd find myself in the hospital again. The one time the medications were actually so severe and I was so dehydrated that I would completely black out, and the nurse would call code rapid response, which I've since been told is the code before code blue. I was so sick that my brain would tell me it wanted to die. I wasn't suicidal or depressed at all. It was like my brain was saying, I am so overworked trying to keep you alive, I just want to quit. I was so sick that after that 3rd hospital stay, my doctor, and I was working with one of the top doctors in the world, Dr. Merle Diamond herself, with a Diamond Headache Clinic in Chicago. One of her PAs would declare me disabled. And this is what she told me. She said, "Kira, you'll never work again. I can hold you at this level that you're at right now, but you will simply get worse." And in that inpatient clinic, I met people who were much worse than me. So I had seen their pain and their lack of quality of life with my own eyes, and I knew what my future held for me. I was so sick that in the worst attack of my life, I knew that there were so many things going wrong in my body. It literally hurt to breathe. I could not move a muscle without horrific spikes in pain. I actually thought I was dying. With each shallow inhale, I would promise myself that on the exhale, I would be in a crumpled heap at the feet of Jesus in pain, or pain-free, only to realize that I had to muster up the courage to inhale again. I was so sick that hope did not exist in the tangible. In the spiritual, yes, and that's an amazing story for another day of the incredible peace and purpose, I kid you not, purpose that God gave my husband and I, even in the illness. But in the tangible and practical, I was so sick that the word survival and coping were the 2 words for every day. Our dreams of 2 kids were out of the question. Our plans for camping trips and bike rides and serving in our church as a family were impossible. Hope was not even on the radar. Hope for health was dead. The year was 2014. I had been declared disabled. My Social Security disability application has never been approved. It doesn't need to be. I was homebound and I had 0 quality of life. And then 2 words, young living. And 1 more word, consistency. At 6 weeks, a pain I left the chiropractor with, the hospital with, was gone. I was thrilled, so much so that I cried, and that would have been good enough. At 4 months, the severity of my migraine attacks was down a notch or 2 on the pain scale, and that would have been enough. At 1 year, after those 2 words, young living, a long migraine cycle that would have had me begging to go inpatient stopped. It stopped, people. And that would have been good enough. At 13 months, my monthly 21-day migraine attack, because it would start with my menstrual cycle, run 8, 10, 12 days, and then I'd ovulate, and so then that one would start, and so it was 21 days, and then a few for the weather and whatever, and there was my nonstop migraine that I was in. But anyways, that 21-day migraine attack was down to 4 to 6 days, and that would have been good enough. At 15 months, I had most migraine attacks down to 3 days, and that would have been good enough. At 18 months, my husband came home from work one day and said, "Honey, you look healthy." And folks, that was worth $1 million. At 18 months, people who were just casual friends would start to come up to my husband and say, "Kira's feeling better, isn't she?" At 2 years, I found myself to be an active working wife and mom. At 2.5 years, we found out we were pregnant. A dream that we thought was completely impossible. At 3 years, I am able to be a sleep-deprived mom of 2 with a team of 80 people and growing, all using and loving young living just like me. I have maybe 2 to 4 mild migraine attacks per month, which I primarily, by the way, attribute to lack of sleep due to an 8-month-old who is teething. But he's a miracle baby, so I'll take it. And most of those I manage completely using plant-based products. I'm off all of what used to be my regular meds. All. People, all. And that was by accident. When I started 3 years ago, it was out of desperation to get my sister off my back. And we joke about that now, okay? And this happened. I'm off of them all, and I take 0 over-the-counter meds. I just don't need them. As a matter of fact, I threw all of the super expired ones in a plastic bag to take to recycle wherever you're supposed to take them to. I believe that this journey to wellness is going to continue. I believe that 2 to 4 mild attacks per month can eventually become 0. There are more natural things that I haven't even tried yet within Young Living or outside of Young Living. This video is long enough. To know where you're going, you must understand where you came from. Now you know where I came from. You can see the healthy person that I am today. Are you ready to start a journey? Are you maybe a little curious? So what did she do? Are Are you ready to take a risk? The hardest thing for me to do when I decided to try Young Living was take the risk to hope. That was the single hardest thing. But what if something helps you? What if one little thing in the other videos I have out on YouTube makes a difference for you? If it just buys you that one little tiny piece of quality of life, you'll be saying just like me, that's enough. It's worth it. So to learn more, I'm not trying to make this a big secret, by the way, or something where you've got a bait and switch where you got to sign up with me and buy all this stuff to hear the rest of the story. Not at all. That is not my goal. My goal with this video is just to share my story of where I came from. The rest of what I've done, I will continue to share and have shared via my YouTube channel, via my Facebook profile, and a little bit on Instagram and Insta stories. I'm kind of slow on that one, you guys. I'm getting there though. So follow me on those. Go check out my YouTube channel and the other videos that are there where I describe in a lot more detail what I do for my body on a daily basis. Everyone knows someone with migraine these days. The disease is just huge and terrible. So if my story, so tell your friends, share my YouTube channel with friends. There's no cost to it. And a lot, my suggestions come from all sorts of different natural places. So if my story can help someone, and it has already radically helped a 17-year-old girl along with a lot of others, if it reduces someone's misery by just a little bit, then those 4 horrible, hard years of being so sick are all worth it. Contact the person who told you to watch this today and tell them, I want to get started today. Help me map out a wellness journey today. If that person is me, I'm so honored. And you know what I'm going to tell you? I want to hear your story. Because healing begins when a person feels heard. And I want to hear yours. Why? Because I know that wellness, purpose, and abundance, like the abundance that I now enjoy, are possible. Thanks so much for watching tonight.